Do you ever disagree?
Of course, because he has Michelin star background where everything has to be spot on. At the same time, I tell him, you're not in London anymore, calm down.
Because I always tell them, you don't work for us, you work for our customer.
If I have to start selling a risotto for $50, I'd rather close. For me, that's not sincere anymore, you know? For me, that's not hospitality anymore.
Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Domar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire. Today, we meet a couple whose story captures everything beautiful and brave about hospitality, love and reinvention. The owners of Sincero Malvern and Buono Parkdale. Welcome to Dining Room Stories, Fabio Magliano and Cinzia Buono.
Hello, guys.
Hello guys,
Thank
thank
you.
you for having us.
Thank
Hello,
you for
thanks
having
for
us.
coming in. Amazing. So you grew up among vineyards in the Amalfi Coast, and you, Cinzia, fell in love about Italy while you were traveling with your family.
Yes, so my parents are Italian,
Yes, but you're from
but I was born in
you're
Switzerland.
You're born
Yeah.
in Switzerland, right? So how did you connect these two words?
So we met in Australia in 2018, and then we re-met in 2019, and love starts. And slowly we went through COVID. Firstly, she moved up in Broome for a couple of months because her dream was to spend time there. And then we re-met in Perth. We have a beautiful trip around all the Western Australia. And then we moved, then we rejoined in Melbourne. And our dream was to go back to Italy, especially her dream was to go back to Italy because she never lived Italy because she grew up in Switzerland. And we decided, like, we had already a job because I contacted people where I used to work when I was a teenager. And we were ready to go. COVID kicked in. And here we are. After 9 years, we're still here in Melbourne with two restaurants.
So there was a passion of traveling and food, I would say. So how did you get into the hospitality business?
So back in Switzerland, I had my office job. And after 10 years of office job, I said, I need a change. And I came with my work and holiday visa to Australia and fell in love with hospitality. And then I met Fabio that has a huge background in hospitality. And we decided to open our first restaurant in Parkdale 5 years ago.
Yes.
And here we are with the second one as well.
Yeah, so you choose Melbourne, right? So you've been traveling to Broome and other places. Why Melbourne?
We didn't choose Melbourne. I think lockdown happened. We were not meant, our dream was to open a restaurant, but we didn't know when or where. And when we were in lockdown, we were meant to live for another 3 months in Melbourne and then go to Italy. We had a job already for a few months, and we were living with Chef Daniele, which is our business partner. And then when we were in lockdown, it seemed like never ending. We spoke to Daniele and we said, let's open a restaurant. So we opened Buono during the second lockdown because we thought probably that's going to be the last lockdown, but there were 6 or 7 more.
I was
Many
yeah,
more.
I was like, the whole
Yeah.
period was crazy. So basically, by opening like a restaurant is like a commitment
Yes.
with like a place and a city, right? So at the end of the day, still after all these years, you didn't choose Melbourne. You just still ended up staying in Melbourne.
Yeah, I think it happened. Life happened. And we chose to open in Parkdale, which we didn't even know where it was. When the broker rang us and said, we have a lovely place here in Parkdale, we said, where is Parkdale? So we drove there and we liked it. It's close to the beach. It was a sunny day, lots of people on the streets having a coffee, and we said, let's do it.
And are you happy with that decision
Yes,
of choosing that area
Yes.
specific in Melbourne?
very happy.
You know, some people say that opening a restaurant in lockdown was a bad decision, but could have been, you know, actually a good one.
Good one, yes.
Because you set the standards for a new era.
Yes. And also opening during lockdown made us open slowly. You only were able to have 20 guests in, first just takeaway. So when we were open, by the time we opened our doors, we were full already because we had months of people getting to know us.
And after a few years, you also opened Sincero
Yes.
in Malvern, which is more with a philosophy of Italian fine dining.
Yes. Yeah, that was our I think our big challenge. So we say, all right, we had this beautiful experience down in Parkdale, because when you are in the suburb, you build completely, like, you build something different of the restaurant in the city. You build community. Like last night we were out at dinner with one of our regular customer that now is became our auntie and uncle, and we're gonna go with them in holiday. We go, like, when we got break, we go with them in holiday, because you build that relationship, because you are not just a number. You are something that you bring something beautiful to the community. So that it was Parkdale. And then we decide to say, all right, now we did pretty amazing job down in a suburb. Say we want to move close to the city. So we choose Malvern because I think it's another beautiful area. And we went there with the idea to open a super fine dining Italian restaurant. We want to give to the people the experience to eat in a Michelin star, but down here in Australia. I think that has been the biggest challenge for us, because there are people that they really love it and people that really hate. Us, we are thinking that here in Australia, people, they see Italian food, like bowl of pasta and glass of wine, some comfortable, not something that you need to be super fancy and glamour. So slowly, we start to keep the idea, but give them more comfortable dishes.
And I would say buono means good and sincero means sincere. They're two beautiful concepts. Why did you choose those concepts?
So what Buono is Cinzia's surname. So when we opened the first restaurant, we were there and thinking, say, how are we gonna call this restaurant? And because we didn't have experience, like, our graphic designer was a friend of our chef, and he's living in Thailand. So it was helping us, because, you know, you try to cut corners when you open your first business, because first you don't have that experience, and secondly because we didn't have like a big fund as money. And so
We all been there.
Yeah.
It's normal. We didn't have money. All good.
So
Yeah.
what happened? We tried to cut corner. So this guy, he didn't came with a brainstorm of names, so you can choose. We were sitting on the table. We can call this, we can call that, and then I don't know. Someone say Buono, and then we put together because it's Cinzia's surname.
Someone said Buono.
And and that was Buono. The second one, we had a lot of difficulty
Yeah.
because we had a beautiful, good graphic designer, and he came with 300 names. And also, he came with, because he's an Australian guy, he translates some Italian concept in English that they were making no sense. So for us, it was like very, very, very difficult. And then finally, we choose Sincero because, how you say, sincere, and we can say at least there is something that they put the two restaurants together. Because if we want to create a new Buono in Malvern, we thought for a time being to call Buono or Buono in Malvern, And then we say we sound like a McDonald's. So
That's right.
that's why we choose.
Yeah. Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. Remember to subscribe to our channel to get updates and keep enjoying the rest of the episode. I'll do that, like, because I do SEO. I'll put like born in Malvern, the best Italian food ever. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it is beautiful. So there's the concept of good and sincere, and also like you are a couple, right? So how do you balance this sincere like work day by day and feeding the restaurants and your relationship?
As a couple, well, the first 5 years we worked together at Buono, and working together, I love to work with him. He's very organized, and I just have to look at him, and he knows, you know, the two of us can have full house, and it works. So now that I'm at Sincero, sometimes I miss you, but sometimes I'm happy not to work together anymore. It's a 50-50. So we see each other a lot at work anyway. How do we balance it? I think I don't know.
We got this big, we're able to divide our private life with work. When we are work, we are not a couple. We are like
Yeah.
the two business owner, and we try to be on the same page. And yeah, and maybe the chemistry is helping during your shift, because sometimes we don't have to talk. We look each other and we know what to do. And maybe this is because even you're a couple, because it's very difficult. And then I know that I'm perfectionist, and I know that it can be my weak spot. But during like my career where I've been working, they always told me perfection doesn't exist, but you need to aim to at least, because if you aim, you at least you reach the perfection. You will never get the full perfection because no one is perfect, but that is my philosophy and our philosophy that we try to put in the business. And so I know that sometimes I can be too much, but with her we have this beautiful connection, so we can work perfectly during a shift.
Do you ever disagree?
Of course. We do disagree. He is, I was brought up in Switzerland. Switzerland is full of rules, very strict. That's why we match, because he has Michelin star background where everything has to be spot on. At the same time, I tell him, you're not in London anymore, calm down. Sometimes he can get very frustrated about little things, whereas I'm more like, as long as the customer as long as we catch the mistake before the customer, it's fine. But he can get so upset for 2 days. And I tell him, don't do it. It's just frustrating for yourself. Let it go.
How do you handle if there's something that mess up in the kitchen, or something with design, or something doesn't work?
How we handle it? I think as long as the customer didn't realize, for me it's fine. It's like my philosophy at Sincero. Of course it's not fine. Of course I'm going to talk to my staff. Things like that shouldn't happen. But at the end of the day, if the night went well, I can leave peacefully. If the evening, if I see people leave happy, I'm leaving peacefully as well, whereas he doesn't.
Okay, Fabio.
Fabio is
doesn't
still nervous
peacefully.
about what happened in 1988.
I love it. I mean, the concept of like fine dining, of course, it requires perfection, because that's the whole scope of work. So I definitely can understand that.
Yeah, because we always put to our staff when you have meeting, and we employ a new employee. We always try to explain them the philosophy of the worth. Because when you come in our restaurants, you bring your money to us, and that money for you is value. So I need to give you something that at least it has the same value. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And especially, I think at this moment of the Australia history and the economy, the people, when they go out, they already know that they're gonna spend, because the cost of living and everything, they're gonna spend a lot. And for them, in the moment that you give something wrong, immediately you got a complaint there, because say, oh, where is the value of my money that I give to you? So that's where I got upset. Not upset, I'm got frustrated, because sometimes people, they start to make mistake because they are not there with mind. And I know that everyone is different, and I know that nowadays find professional stuff in hospitality is very hard, because it's hard job and people, they try not to do anymore. But we need to be like, when you come to work, you need to be in, like, in our restaurants. I want that people, they are there with their mind. And I know that everyone, we have problem at home and outside, but we need to be ready and satisfy the customer, because I always tell them, you don't work for us, you work for our customer, and we work for you. In the moment that our staff is, they go under stress, we are there to help them, but they work for our customers, because that is a thing that is very hard to them to understand. We had a meeting and asked them, all of them, so who are you working for? And they look at me like, what kind of question is? So, and they told me, most of them, they say, we work for you. No, you work for the customer, because it's the customer that they come here and they bring your wages, because without them, we can't afford to pay your wages. So, and it's hard, because after 2 months, we had the same meeting, and some of them, they didn't understand why I told them that they work for the customer.
That's a beautiful message, and that's what hospitality should be. We are in the service industry, which doesn't mean you are a slave to somebody, but you are there to serve them and give them a beautiful experience, and people can go anywhere they want. They could eat at home. So, coming to our houses, which are our restaurants, that's how it should be. They are our guests, and we need to welcome them and treat them with respect and well. Guys, what do you think of today's economy, and how do you balance, your pricing with the rising cost of doing business and hospitality?
So the economy has changed. Interest rates, they're high, and we know people that don't have the same money that they could spend before. And so what we did, we trying to cut our cost of the business day by day. Simple example: Tuesday we go to the market and we purchase our own vegetables, and do just that things. We start to see that we're saving at least between $150 to $100 a week.
So what you're saying is like you go into the market, you choose the best
Yeah.
vegetables, and you cut on delivery costs. Is that
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Okay.
So we start to make, that is one of the simple example, because it's between $150 to $100. I know that I supposed to put the time that I'm going there, but in the end of the day, it's something nice, because we love to go there and touch the products with the chef, and is something, okay, this vegetable is in season, maybe we can prepare a special with that vegetable. And that, I think, is the way that where I can see that hospitality is going back in things of, as I told before, comfortable. People, they don't look anymore to fancy stuff, because people, they want to go out, say, okay, I'm going out tonight, I'm going to spend that amount of money, but I want something comfortable. They don't want to have experiment anymore. And this is why I think Sincero, it didn't give us that big things like, it's still like it's amazing restaurant and people, they are super happy, but we had to change our our little menu because unfortunately people at the moment they look for comfortable. So that is one thing that we do. At Buono, we try to do a short menu with Italian street food during the week, Tuesday to Thursday, to fill up the restaurant. That before it was not the case. Before the restaurant was like every night 50, 60. But we have to do that, and the restaurant is still full. So
And that's business. You need to adapt.
Yes.
How much, Cinzia, do you think a pasta should cost in today's world, considering the cost of business and the cost of wages, labor cost?
So that's a tricky question because
And how
nowadays,
much is the consumer willing to pay for
exactly,
a pasta?
you need to find that balance. In my opinion, if I have to start selling a risotto for $50, I'd rather close. For me, that's not sincere anymore, even though the prices went up so much, and probably we should at some stage, if it keeps going like that, sell it for $50. For me, that's not hospitality anymore. So we try to keep the balance between for the customer and for our restaurant. Somewhere in between where, maybe other restaurants make more money on that plate. I'd rather make a little bit less, but stay true to myself. So that's probably our philosophy for the restaurant at the moment, because it is very tough at the moment. Everything went up: wages, electricity, rent, suppliers.
So who takes care more of the numbers in the restaurant?
The numbers, Mr. Fabio.
Okay, Fabio. So you like that
Yeah.
kind of like checking out,
yeah,
like
Is-
Omar does. You love that, right?
Excel files.
It's like-
yeah, I got everything. I got everything under control. It's the only way that you can, because it's the way that you have to manage your business. You have to know your numbers, because doesn't matter. The restaurant can be busy every night, but if people that your spending is down, I don't know, $20 per head, you need to understand and say, okay, now I need to adjust this, or I need to adjust that. It's like we had the challenge of Sincero. It's been fun for me because every day I have to check the numbers, and I realize, I say, okay, we are spending too much in that, cut it. In 1 week, we saved that amount of money. And for me, it was very successful things to do. And because I'm like a robot, I need to be everything super.
Did you notice that people are drinking less in your restaurant?
That is fun. It's fun things, because I think that people, they're changing the way to drink. Like Buono, there is night that you sell 0 bottle of wine, but you sell 300 cocktails, and the people, they spend the same money. Sincero is different because it's different area, and you see sometimes people, they take a bottle of $300, and then you got a table next to them, they got just 2 glasses of wine. But
We can't really say about Sincero because it's been open just a year. We feel like at Buono, they're still, if they come out, they're still drinking. But the habits have changed, maybe even with the food. They share an entree and then have a main, and that's it. Or before it was, let's do the 4 course, or let's do 2 entrees, 2 mains, 2 desserts. This has changed a little bit. The drinking, we can't really say, because we have nights where we sell so many cocktails. Everything is house-infused. We have his cocktail menu that he makes everything in-house, so they're very popular. So with the drinking, it's still steady.
So of course we're talking about like cutting costs in a sense, because that's today's economy, but we've also been talking a lot about customer satisfaction. So there should be a balance. For example, something I really noticed between the Italian market is different. Like people go there, it's like, everyone's judgmental. It's like, oh, my nonna can cook better than you, my mom, blah, blah. But in Australia, like sometimes I feel that people just don't say anything and they don't come back. Is
Mm.
that something you can relate, Cinzia? Oh,
Um, maybe before. Now with this shift of the economy, I think people they changed a little bit. Of course, like I believe that the Australian people that culture from one side is very nice because maybe they don't wanna give you a bad review in front of you, and maybe because sometimes they don't feel comfortable, or sometimes because they are they don't like the confrontation as their culture, and then they're gonna write you a bad review. Thank God it never happened in our restaurant because we don't have that a lot of bad review. Sometimes you get it, and I always tell my staff not to get down for a bad review because you have to see if the bad review is constructive for the business, or is because people maybe they don't like it, they don't like the restaurant. That is nothing that I can change. If you coming in an Italian restaurant like Buono Sincero, that they're a little bit not the classic Italian restaurant. We don't have a big menu, short menu, and everything is prepared by from scratch. So we can have a huge menu, and people tell me, the menu is very short. So there is nothing that I can do. For me, it's not a bad review. That is something that you didn't like it. Thank God, don't come. But it's true. People, I think nowadays, in the moment that you made the little mistake, that's it. They are done. They're not coming back. And that is, we had more a Buono that fear that we were always in angle because we arrived in. We arrived in Parkdale after COVID, and we opened this restaurant with high prices for the area because it was almost like a restaurant in the city in the suburbs. And we felt every day that we are in the edge. Like in the moment that we made a mistake, people won't come back, or we got a bad review. And that fear, I think it brought Buono where it's now, because every day we were there, check all the details. Like that is the big things that we have in our restaurant, details. Without details, I think that you can go far because you got a big competition around.
And Fabio, you are the number guy, and Cinzia, you are more focusing on the marketing side and service.
Yes, service and marketing. Yes, numbers. I leave to Fabio.
Yeah. I've seen you replying to all the reviews.
Everything.
That's
I think-
very nice.
Yes, I think I very appreciate Google reviews. So I show my appreciation by replying to every guest.
I've seen you also reply to the bad reviews in
Of course.
with a lot of pride.
Of
and
course.
it shows, the great job that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
and so we've been talking about this perfect dining experience.
Mhm.
So Cinzia, what is a perfect dining experience from your perspective?
So a perfect dining experience, I think every guest is different, and it's our job to understand what kind of customer is in front of you. Is it a chatty one? Do they want to have a chat with you? You have a chat with them. Do they want you to leave them alone? You leave them alone. So I think if you put your guests at ease and they enjoy the food and the service and they relax, that's a great dining experience. Because if you go to a place and the waiter keeps interrupting and you're not in a mood to talk, you want to be there with your partner, I think that's not what you need to understand what your guest is looking for.
I can relate to that. Like we've been discussing that also with Jacopo and Adira the other day. It was like, oh, the customer is alone, just go and have a chat with them.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, for example, when you're doing business or like you're talking about stuff and you got like the waiter just coming in every second, can be annoying. So it should be a balance.
Should be a balance.
Yeah.
And you should adjust to every customer. Because maybe I talk to this table, but leave this table a bit more alone because I can tell they're not here to have a chat.
So you're reading the room.
I'm reading my guests.
And
Yes,
it's like
I'm
the
reading the
feeling.
customers.
Yeah.
Restaurateurs notoriously are master psychologists, and they really understand body language, because
I'm learning.
you know we are just watching people every day. When you are watching 2,000 people a week, it's like it's a training for you. So you see people when they are relaxed, and you start to understand them, and you start to understand patterns. We think we are different, but in reality we're all the same, with different tonalities. But that's what I've seen. Successful restaurateurs, they are masters of people.
That is not just remembering names and faces, but also try to read their feelings when they get into your venues.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Because, yeah, Omar, I think is right. Like we are in everything, even with the stuff. You need to have that balance, and with people, and you need to understand immediately, as Cinzia say, if the customer is happy, unhappy, and then there is people that they are unhappy. Like our philosophy, kill them with kindness, because you can go there and be rude. As maybe they are not rude, but the way that they talk to you can sound rude, and when we always trying to kill with them kindness, and then always coming back, because they understand that you can, I don't know, maybe you can have a challenge with them. So that is the beauty of hospitality.
I believe everybody should work in hospitality because it's the gym of life. And once, especially, you run successful restaurants, you can run any type of business because, the fundamentals are always the same: people, place, product. You just adapt the circumstances to the other industry.
Yeah. But I love, Fabio say, kill them with kindness, but I also say with good cocktails and great food, right?
Yeah.
How do you create your cocktails?
My cocktails. So I believe you can charge for a because nowadays in Melbourne cocktails you find between 20 to
20, 30,
35.
Well, almost
Like-
40
Which,
bucks. Yeah.
which is cheap compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in US it's $25
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
tax plus tips.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, but now cheap.
So it's
come on,
probably
like,
50
whatever, but
Australian dollars.
Yeah, we are cheap. We say we
cheap.
are cheap.
I don't know. We say the mountain's cheap. All right.
But-
If you travel the world, Melbourne
I'll
is
go
still
around,
cheap,
I mean-
but it's
I
an
mean,
expensive
Yeah, but
city
that
for
price you go
Melbourne.
whatever. But okay, so we're
Yeah.
cheap.
But and height, if I have to mix a cocktail, do spirits, a liquor, and something like juicy, or for me, it's not a cocktail. It doesn't work. I don't like I will never offer that to my customer. So all our cocktail they got home infused. Like we infuse the spirits with wherever, and then we build the cocktail on the top of that flavor. So we start with I don't know, vodka infused with lemon and thyme, for instance, and then slowly I try to put all the elements that they can be with, and build have a nice cocktail. That is our philosophy in our restaurants. Like I will never serve something that is just you take from the shell and you mix, because of course a classic cocktail that you mix is always a classic cocktail, and if you prepare well, is a good cocktail. But our signature cocktails, they must be. You need to put effort in the cocktail, because it's again the same like we were talking before. Is the worth the money that my customer give to us, and what I give back to them.
That's absolutely correct. It is about the value, and sometimes it's like a perceived value, but also when you match up with quality, in my opinion, that's the best. Then at that stage, for me, of course, it depends what can you afford, but at that stage for me, it's like the experience. So if I can afford it, I'm happy to buy and pay for it.
Cinzia, you guys have built already something special with the two restaurants. Now, what's next?
That's it.
No plans for the future.
No plans for the future.
Okay.
No plans
For the present?
for the present,
just
to
joking.
keep pushing through,
Yeah, okay, good.
to build them up, both restaurants, especially the new one. And one day, probably, we want to be able to work more on the business instead of in the business. And that's probably our next goal.
And of course, you're balancing that through hiring the right people.
Yes.
And, getting to a certain level of customer satisfaction. So do you think it's going to happen in the next few months or longer span?
It also depends on the economy, to be honest. When things get a bit more tough, we prefer to work a bit more. People think, it's quiet, you can stay home. No, it's quiet. We have to be in the business because I'm not going to pay someone else if it's a quiet night. So it's all a bit depending on how things will go. And from there, we'll see.
I have one last question for each one of you. So we start with Cinzia. What advice would you give to your younger self?
To my younger self, probably to follow my instinct a bit faster. Instead of waiting for 10 years and get to a point where I was really unhappy in my office job, click a bit earlier, react a bit earlier. I came to the point where I was 28, sold my car, sold my furniture. I was living by myself and made the move to come to Australia by myself. And if I could probably go back, I know I would probably do it 3 years earlier, but it's fine. It's fine. You're always smarter after it's done.
Do you take action as an advice?
Take action.
When it's the right time.
Yeah, when your gut
action.
feeling tells you, you take action. Don't waste years because it's your life.
And I would say, as a woman, have you faced any challenge in this change or in the hospitality industry?
I think the way people react to a tall man talking or a woman talking is still a big difference, and I noticed that. But that's life, I'm working on that. Sometimes I say, you go and say something to a guest or to a staff member, and then I tell myself, no, I can do it. Even if I'm a woman, even if they perceive it differently, I still have to do it. It's my job to do it.
Great. So you're working on
I'm working on that.
your personal,
Yeah.
I would say, can I say triggers eventually, or just like a behavioral kind of evolution?
I think the world itself sees a man talking or a woman talking in two different ways. But I accept it. It's still, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes in hospitality. Being a woman in hospitality with your older staff members, men staff members, you're not seen the same way as probably Fabio is seen, in my opinion.
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Fabio.
So for myself, it's I believe that maybe in the past I could take some opportunity in different way, just because I like to improve myself every day. And maybe at this time, if I choose in different way in the past, I could have a different experience and maybe be a better person that I am now. Both life and business, especially business. But I think that my shoe always follow my heart, and I spend a lot of time in London because I used to work in this beautiful place that it was Locanda Locatelli, and maybe that thing it closed a little bit in my mind, because working Michelin star you need to be perfect every single day, and the stress that you have you get is a lot. And I think that all my big experience, it was building that restaurant. And I've been traveling a lot. I've been Spain, I've been working in Switzerland, in the French part, in the German part, England, and then I came here. I went 1 year back to Italy. So I had a big background, but I wish that maybe I worked in more Michelin star restaurant to see the difference, because that is a school. That is like that you go in the army. We have a big big hierarchy in the restaurant, and it's like army, and it was beautiful. But I wish that I move in different Michelin star to be a better person and see the things.
So it's a balance between perfection in cooking, the service, and balance it out with yourself, right?
Correct. Yes, I think so. I think that hospitality, in order to be successful, you need to, every little elements, you need to be in the right spot. Otherwise, you're always missing something. And you can see even during the shift, if the kitchen end is slow, all the restaurant is slow. And you think, but it's just the kitchen end.
The part.
Is not nothing to say that is horrible, that is not like a bad job, but it's the last ring
Chain.
of the chain. And you think, okay, if something is going wrong there, we can still, no, but it doesn't work like this. In the moment that that ring is broken, all the restaurant is broken. That is the things of the perfection, that everything you need to be in the right spot.
Great. So, Fabio, what would you say to your younger self? You have a lot of experience. You've been traveling all over the world, and now you got your businesses in Australia. You're successful also. What would you say to your younger self?
I think that if I will tell, I'm happy for what I built. Like I'm never expecting. I'm coming from a small village. We are like 4,000 people, and now I'm living in a big city like Melbourne, and I got 2 restaurants at 4 years old. So I think that I'm happy. I'm happy for what I've done and what. So it's nothing that I will regret. As I told before, the only things I hope that I worked more in high quality restaurant to be still something good and better than where I am now.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you here. Congratulations for all your restaurants and
Thank you.
successes.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Ciao.
Thank
Grazie
you.
mille.
Grazie.
Ciao.
Buona giornata,
Ciao.
grazie. Hey guys, thanks for watching the episode. I'm gonna see you in the next one.
Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Domar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire.